Now, if you follow my holiday content, you know I make a nice stromboli. But there is one problem I constantly have. Blowouts. Cheese blowing out the side of the stromboli. But I think there's a trick to significantly minimizing a blowout, if not preventing it altogether. So today we're gonna see if I can fix that. And since stromboli is a blank canvas, today we're going with a classic. This is stromboli with sausage and broccoli. So first thing that's up, we're gonna make our quick and easy same day pizza dough, bread dough, whatever you wanna call it. Now, of course, my recipe to all my strombolis are in my holiday plan of attack, link down in the description. It's an ebook that sets you up for the holidays. And it's a fast and loose recipe. It's meant to be easy. So the first step, we got 2 cups of all-purpose flour, just roughly measured. And it doesn't need to be precise because I'm gonna hold off like a half cup of it and work that in during kneading if I need. To that, a tablespoon of granulated sugar. You can always add a little bit more, just gonna help it brown. Again, fast and loose. Another half teaspoon ain't gonna hurt. In my recipe, I call for active yeast. You could also use instant. It's a little easier, I find. Just doesn't need to be activated. You could add it straight into the dry ingredients. So 1 teaspoon, a few pinches of salt. Stir it together. And we've got a cup of warm water, above room temp, and then we're gonna start to just work in the water. Add it in bits so that we can just make sure we hydrate that flour really well. And what you should be left with is sort of like a wet dough ball. Now, like I said, we held back a half cup of that flour. Now I'm just gonna use my hand, just start to work it in. Use my knuckles and start to fold in that flour. Quick movements, preventing the dough from sticking to you. Once it's easy enough to work into a ball, get it onto the board, a little more flour, and then we're gonna knead. Just fold it onto itself, push forward. We want a nice, balanced, hydrated dough. So if you feel it's sticking to the board, it's a little too sticky, just work in a little bit of flour at a time. One of the tricks to this is even though this is a one-day dough, we really wanna develop strength in the dough and gluten so that it prevents that blowout from happening. So I almost like to knead it a little bit more than I would normally. Since we're not using a long fermentation on this, we need to let our hands do some of the work. Once we get there, I like to do these fast moves. And this is kind of like replicating a stand mixer with your hands. And just really start to work out and smooth out that dough. And I like to, mix up the technique. This is more of like the grandma style, rolling it into a log, folding it up. I'm just gonna spin it on my cutter and just sort of pinch the bottom. See how smooth that is? Got some nice structure to it, it's bouncy. I'm gonna take some olive oil, put some in my hand, and just rub it all over the outside. Plop it in there, cover it. Now we're just gonna allow this to basically double or triple in size. Once it's filled up the bowl mostly, it's ready to use. Should take about 2 to 3 hours in a warm area. Now dealing with the dough is the first trick. The next trick to prevent the blowout comes when we roll everything up. So we're gonna let this rise, and while it does, we can start to prep the sausage and the broccoli. Now I don't know if you're like me, but I used to love watching like Food Network holiday related weekends, like this marathon of food content. And like I said, there's many stromboli I've made for the holidays on this channel, and I have a holiday playlist in case you ever want to go check out just holiday content on my channel homepage, and I'll also leave a link down in the description. But we're making the broccoli and sausage today, and it's basically those 2 things, some garlic, a little olive oil, and then some cheese at the end. So we've got our sausage just taken out of the links, and we've got our broccoli, and here's how we're gonna handle it. I want them sort of like broken up so they sort of meld well with the crumbled sausage. So the stem, I'm gonna cut about that much off, and you see how there's like a pale center and then dark green outside? We wanna cut all that dark green off. Almost like a piece of ginger, cut that in half into little spears, and then we'll dice those guys up. Now for the broccoli, we're gonna use the stem, and we're gonna cut wedges off of it. So then we're just gonna go with that wedge, cut slices, turn it, dice it up. Now for here, we got a little chunk here, then I'll just take that, I'll cut that in half, turn it, dice up the stems, and then cut the heads in half, and you get these little guys. You just don't want them too big. I'd almost argue the smaller, the better. It's about 1 head of broccoli. We're gonna take our garlic, slice them in half, and slice them thin. And then get that into the bowl. And let's cook this up. Now, as somebody who is well-versed in the holidays, one of the common pain points is stove and oven space. And unlike my grandma, I don't have a basement with a second oven in it. So I'm always looking for new age devices to help me run my holidays. And while we will be baking one of our Strombolis, for the other, we're using our sponsor today, the Sous Vide Kitchen Robot 3.0 Plus. Sous vide is more than a kitchen gadget. Sous vide is a smart countertop oven and meal delivery service. It comes with 15 cook modes, everything from air frying, baking, steaming, and reheating. You get perfectly cooked meals every time, not that soggy microwaved food. And today we're gonna be using the bake feature to cook our Stromboli. You could also choose one of Sous Vide's 50 chef-crafted meals. And since it's a smart device, all you have to do is load up your meal and tap the recipe card to the appliance to cook. Then choose what time you want your food to be ready, and with its cool to cook technology, Sous Vide will safely keep it cool all day and begin to cook it at your desired time automatically. No need to even be home. And the best part about Sous Vide is that they offer a 100-day risk-free trial, so you can give it a try, and if they find out it's not for you, Sous Vide is gonna make it right. And it's November, so for their Black Friday sale, you're gonna get 16 free meals with your order, and you're gonna save an extra $150 when you use the link in my description. Using a frying pan with the largest surface area you have, preheat that pan on high heat and then add a touch of oil, and then add the sausage to the pan. Season it, and then start to break up the sausage into smaller kernels that's gonna disperse well into the Stromboli. As you make your way breaking up the sausage, it's gonna give off its moisture. Once that moisture is completely released, the next thing we need to do is evaporate all that moisture out. Once that moisture is cooked out, then all that's left in the pan is fat and oil, and we can begin to fry and brown the sausage. That's the flavor we're looking for here. But we don't wanna go like super deep caramelized, or those little sausage kernels might dry out. When the sausage is browned in spots but not all over, remove from the pan, deglaze with a splash of wine to pick up the fond off the pan, then add that back into the sausage. Add another touch of oil, and once the pan is hot, add in the broccoli. Then we're gonna let it sit untouched and allow it to caramelize on one side. This is gonna set in that roasty flavor of broccoli rather than like boiled sulfuric smell. Once you see the broccoli is brown on that first side, toss them around, then add in that garlic and allow that to cook until it becomes fragrant. Then add the sausage back into the pan and allow all those flavors to come together. One final thing I add is a little cherry pepper jus that I make really quickly. It's just a bunch of cherry peppers blended with the juice that they're stored in until you form puree. This gives a little heat and acidity to the dish and just rounds it out to me. Then pour all of that mixture into a bowl and allow it to cool. Once this cools, we can add some pecorino romano to that. Sort of sucks up all that flavor, and that's ready to cool down a bit more and then be stuffed into our Stromboli. One last thing, we've got to grate some cheese, and for this, my choice, Galbani is a good brand. Whole milk for this one, I prefer. Sheet of parchment, box grater. You probably end up needing in this Stromboli about 3/4 of a pound. I think that's gonna be plenty. Too much is also what leads to a blowout. There's only so much space inside, you know? You can add provolone to it, whatever you want, but it's roughly 3/4 of a pound of cheese inside. With the parchment, can easily get it into a bowl. All right, so our dough has just about doubled. We're ready to use it. I got some parchment paper here, right? I'm just gonna wipe that down with oil, just so that dough doesn't stick to. I'm gonna take our dough and turn it out. Now I'm gonna take my rolling pin and grease it so it doesn't stick. Now what I wanna start to do is roll that out the long way. Once we've got a nice even foot-long piece of dough, then we're gonna go the long way. And now what you wanna do is realize this is going to be the outer layer on this side of the dough. This is gonna be inside of the dough. So you can almost afford to have this part much thinner, and you almost wanna give a little bit more thickness to the edge, just so you have some nice structure around the Stromboli. And what we're gonna do is cut this in half too, and we're gonna make 2 Stromboli. So first, the cheese, I'm gonna take about half of it, and we just want a nice even layer, not crazy. Leave a little border at the end. Then we can go ahead and start to add in the broccoli. Again, a nice even layer. So then what we can do is just start to roll that up, nice and tight. And then once we get towards the end, you can just sort of pick it up. And we wanna make sure that bottom is sealed and cooking with the seam on the bottom. Then you wanna take the edge, fold it over itself. So that's the edge at the bottom. And there you go. That's one, let's make the other. See if you put a little cheese on top, see which one comes out better. And again, just start to roll it. So like I said, we're gonna bake one in the oven and bake one in our sous vide kitchen robot. So just gonna get some oil on the bottom of the pan. And then we're gonna use the sous vide baking sheet. So then we're gonna get one into our sheet tray, make sure the seam side is down. And then one on the sous vide baking tray. Then we're gonna score it. Basically, you wanna score it the size of the slice you want. I want some nice thick slices. And we finish it with a little egg wash. A little oregano. So then I'm gonna get this guy into the oven, 425 degrees. And this is gonna go into the sous vide kitchen robot. We're gonna start to cook. Bottom's gonna be empty. The top is going to be baked. Since it works a little different with the heating source up here, we're still gonna get some browning even at 375. So I'm gonna do 375 for 30 minutes, and I'm gonna turn it halfway. You see that? That's perfect. See, I don't consider that a blowout. I just didn't cut the slits enough on the top, so all the pressure escaped out of the one that I did. That looks much better than normal. And we just gotta let it cool. The other one's done. Not bad. No blowouts either. Just a little blowout at the bottom. That's a new one. We'll let this chill too. Now it's cooled down. Let's see how we did. See how we did over here? Beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. You don't serve this, you're acting kooky on Christmas. You don't want to act kooky on Christmas. Do right by your family. Serve them Stromboli. It's going to be linked in my holiday plan of attack, along with all my holiday recipes. There's like 70 of them, all designed to make you have the best holiday ever. It's an ebook, working on printing real books, but link's going to be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.